Welcome to the Fox Den, where the stories begin. Jordan Fox leads the way with news every day. RDS News brings the sound, all the facts you found. Tune in, take a listen, hear the truth spin round. The Fox Den, news with a bite.
Welcome, Fox Den fans. Oh my goodness, I have an absolute legend. One of the most important people in RDS history. He won the strongest alliance ever in the Triple T, and then became a co-host for 2 shows. It was incredible to play a game with him running. This guy made me a RDS fan. It is Tony Mastermind.
Hello, RDS fans. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on, Jordan.
I am just one of your biggest fans. It was so incredible getting to play the game. I just said that, sorry. So you played and won Big Brother Season 1. What are some of the biggest differences you saw between the shows?
That's a great question, Jordan. One of the most notable differences was just simply the level of gameplay. You all really stepped it up this season. This season also felt a lot more personal, likely due to the minded fences twist, which affected you all from the beginning.
It was a huge surprise to see Mel for sure. And with all the rules and twists, it was hard to keep my head straight. What's the process like with designing a show and coming up with those unpleasant surprises?
There's a lot of behind-the-scenes discussions that take place prior to the season beginning that go into creating twists. First, Indigo and I have to establish a series of twists that we believe will have an impact on the game. We also have to decide the timing of when we want these twists to come into play. With this season specifically, we were able to come up with a more hands-on model for our players. Indigo and I simply had to decide which advantages we wanted to offer. Then players chose which advantage they wanted by icon alone, as they earned advantages. Honestly, coming up with twists for the shows has been my favorite part of production these last few seasons.
Thank you for that insight. I know it was a strategy for the Fellowship to get those. I unfortunately couldn't get in that room. What's your favorite twist that happened? Either in this show or Survivor?
You could have earned one by completing your trigger challenge as well. Everyone forgot about those. That's another great question. While I've loved all of our twists so far, I'd say my favorite twist came from the Survivor season. The fake idol making Kit in the beginning was such a long con that the final conclusion was extremely rewarding. Also, the 2 tribal councils that we had back to back was a great twist. The overall planning that goes into timing what we want to do and when we want to do it is just such a fun process.
That fake idol was crazy. I'd be so paranoid in that game. Cat Azalea was fun to watch. How about this? Who do you think that played in Survivor would do the best in Big Brother? And then vice versa, who on Big Brother would do good on Survivor? From any of the season.
Interesting concept. I personally believe Sherman or Robert Bricks would do well on Big Brother. As for Survivor, I'd probably go with Tam and Frank. All great players whose skills I believe would transfer well with minimal adjustment.
Robert definitely would be amazing. I'm not sure about Frank. He is a city boy, but resourceful. Who knows? I think JD could have done well. We'll come back to him. One last Big Brother question. Compare your game to Daisy's. Do you think she was deserving to win?
That's true. Maybe Crab Tyrone, he'd do well on a beach. If you believe Terrence, Tyrone has already guest appeared on Survivor. Another great question. I think you have a future in this podcasting thing, Ms. Fox. Well, I personally believe Daisy and I played extremely different games. I was hyper-focused on the strategic elements of the game and ensuring I maneuvered in a way that set me up for success throughout my time in the house. Daisy was hyper-focused on the social side of the game and ensuring her relationships were so tight that she would always feel like more of an asset than a liability for another player's game. While I personally believe the game was Tyrone or Frank's for the taking, if they made it to the end, they didn't. Daisy made it to the end instead and made the correct choice on who to go against in order to give herself the best chance to win. That's a long way of saying, yes, I believe Daisy deserved to win.
I agree. If it couldn't be me or Mel, I'm glad it was her. Okay. So, I was told to ask you about this stuff. What exactly was all that magic and stuff? And your twin brother? Montana? Why do you have different last names? I guess basically, what the hell was going on in the house? Hey.
Honestly, I'm still trying to figure that all out myself. We've met a few times, and he seemed like an extremely reasonable and rational gentleman at the time, not too far off from myself, unsurprisingly. Though I believe some may have a different impression of him simply viewing his featured portions of the season.
And his connections with the Shadow. Any comment?
The Shadow? I don't believe I get the reference. I guess you could make the connection that as identical twins, or clones, as some like to say, ha ha ha, we are each other's shadows.
Okay, let's move. Oh. John Dawson Pierre is still reportedly missing. Since you and your brother worked with him, we wondered if you had any insight that might help.
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure about that either. I grew up being told and thinking that Tony was my cousin, and the similar features were pure genetic coincidence. The multiple speculative rumors regarding cloning and twin brother are relatively new in comparison. To answer your question, though, last I heard, JD took on a new role at my cousin's Mountain Dew Code Red factory. I've heard those jobs can be extremely secretive for whatever reason.
I think this is another great segue to our question from a fan segment, presented by Mountain Dew Zero. It's actually an email this time from Rusty Films received a mysterious email from straightforward1111@gmail.com. It says, recently an old female friend from your past reached out to reconnect with you. Do you always play hard to get, or are you happy to die alone with your billions of dollars? An admirer?
Oh yeah, I have tons of those these days. But on a serious note, shout out to Ashley.
Yes, I love Ashley. Glad Ashley's alliance ended up winning. Now, it wasn't a very solid alliance and only won on a technicality, I would say. But you formed the Triple T, the most successful team in RDS history. What does it take to have a good team in such an individualized game?
You really have to find the right personalities that can fit together in a way where everyone can get along and work toward a common goal. If everyone in an alliance sees their individual path forward as benefiting from working together, that creates loyalty to a certain extent. Which brings me to some other key elements. Loyalty and trust. In a game, severely lacking these elements. Finding them is like striking gold. You have to keep those people close to you privately, while appearing somewhat distanced publicly.
It's a difficult balance, for sure. It was hard for me to navigate anyways.
Definitely a balancing act. There's also a lot of luck that goes into some of the aspects, especially in a game like Survivor. Your initial tribe swaps, tribal council twists, all of those things have to break your way if you want a realistic shot at getting to the end. If they don't, you better start adapting and overcoming.
Adapting is the way to the end. Tony, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. Do you have any final thoughts or things you want to talk about?
Thank you for having me. It was truly a pleasure. Thank you so much to the RDS fans, viewers, and contestants. This wouldn't be possible without you all, or nearly as fun.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Good luck with whatever business adventure you go on next. Hope the weather in Tarkov is nice, hehehe. Now, thank you for watching, dear viewers. We have a very exciting season finale that you don't want to miss. Good night, house guests.
Views with the bite.